Another player we got to talk about, T. Higgins is a player whose market value is in the gutter right now. Was injured to start the season. I think it's tough for people to even trust starting him right now. He played decent last week, but this isn't the T. Higgins we've come to expect. And right now he's outside of the top 85 wide receivers in PPR leagues, mostly due to the fact that he missed 2 games. But even still, he's barely over 100 yards on the season in the 2 games he's played. Hasn't caught a touchdown yet. I think a lot of people are concerned about T. Higgins, and this is a player that, I mean, last season we were viewing him as like he had the upside to be like a top 15 receiver. This year he was still drafted in the top 30, which he still has that potential to me. And coming up against a matchup against the Ravens, who have allowed sixth most yardage to quarterbacks and just in passing game in general, there's a little bit of upside here for T. Higgins, don't you think?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, you got to think about his first 2 games back, right? He's just under 99 yards. He's just at 99 yards his first.
That's under 100.
That's under.
That's under. Hey, facts are facting right now.
Facts are facting right now. That ain't no lie. But what I love to see out of this, and when you see a player ramping up, you look at his targets. His first game, 6 targets, right? Game 2, 10 targets. You'd love to see it. 6 catches, 60 yards. So he hasn't had a touchdown yet. I think it's coming. They seem to, I don't know how he always plays against Baltimore, but I think that I think Cincy and Baltimore always play each other kind of tough.
Yeah, it goes back and forth with Cincy. It's like sometimes we see Cincy dominate. Sometimes we see I think Baltimore's got the upper hand over the last year, but like Marlon Humphrey typically is on Jamar Chase, but they've been moving him around a little bit more this year.
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, I'm not worried too much about T. Higgins at all. I think he's still gonna. I mean, if you drafted him, you got him as like your flex or what. And this is coming from me. I have him in just about every fucking league, so I'm feeling the same pain. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, it's patience P over here, baby.
Patient P, man. Well, to be honest, I like T. Higgins a lot, man. And this is a player that I think you can get because the name isn't there, because he's had such a slow start. He's only played in 2 games, and this is his preseason. This is his training camp. This is a lot of the stuff that T. Higgins missed. I know he had a little bit of it, obviously, with the training camp, but didn't get a chance to come into the season very strong. So you got bounce back games. You have to recover from your injury, and there is a dip in performance at times. And I think we got to give guys who have been in the circle of trust a little bit more time to prove themselves. And right now, the schedule for Cincy coming up is crazy. You got Baltimore, who's been bottom 10 against receivers. You have Philly in that mix, the Giants. They play Baltimore again in a few weeks. So it's like there's some hit games here for T. Higgins. Just understand he might be a little bit more of a inconsistent play, right? I think you can get good floor with like 4 to 6 catches a week, but like the big games that we've come to expect out of T. Higgins, 100 with 2 touchdowns, those are going to be a little bit more sporadic, I think, in my opinion. So I like T. Higgins, bro, and I think this is a good time to buy T. Higgins. For sure. But it could be one of those players, P, that we're like maybe just attached to. You know what I'm saying? Maybe attached to the name. I'm being honest.
No, it's crazy because from the perception of it, and I know we kind of look at the same things. We're looking at this big body wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? That's jumping up, mossing cats, catching touchdowns, coming down over 2 players, and you're like, bro, I need that on my team.
Need that.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, it's like T. Higgins, he still is that. If you watch the games, if you're not just stat watching, they're throwing him the rock in the end zone. You know what I mean? Like he had a couple catches where he's been pushed out of bounds or drops in the end zone. So he's getting targeted in the end zone. So to me, still a buy low. You know what I mean? And if I have him like I do in just about every league, no, I'm not.
He said like I do in every league. It's crazy because it's like you find the same players, and unfortunately, it's like that's just who in fantasy. Like if you have multiple teams, you tend to like the same type of players, unfortunately. But it's like at the end of the day, like it's because they produce and they've done you well in the past. Like we saw T. Higgins last week, and it's like, if you were worried about his usage, he had 32% of the team's targets last week. So it's not like he's just completely out of the picture. It's just the results haven't been there. And sometimes when the results aren't there, we start to think a little bit worse in our heads about players than they actually are. So Jamar Chase has been, he's been the rock solid option, but when they've been on the field at times together, Pete, we've seen where T will dominate in targets at times. Like he'll go through stretches where we're questioning, is Jamar Chase the one or is he the 2? Especially because Jamar Chase can do a lot more like explosive plays, right? So he gets his 80 to 100 yards. It could be on a 50-yard game, whereas T. Higgins is more kind of like churn the ball downfield, shots in the red zone, tough contested catches. So the player for me, I like T. Higgins. It's just, are we fully buying in? I would buy in right now as a top 30 guy. If I feel like if I could get top 30 price right now for T. Higgins, creeping up to the top 25 prices, I'd be willing to do
it. So you wouldn't get him for like top 20 prices?
Hell no. No, that's too much. Not with the receivers that are out there right now. Like, if I was thinking T. Higgins or like Jaden Reed, I'm taking Jaden Reed. If I'm thinking like T. Higgins or like maybe Higgins, like Devontae Adams, I'm still going Devontae. If I'm going Stephon Diggs, like I'm doing all.
You're still going. Yeah. See, I don't know, man. Like, you know, you make some good points. I think we're probably at the same value of that. You know, T. Higgins, they played two different roles in that team, right? I mean, on Cincy, the reason why you and I both weren't ready to put, you know, Chase as a top 3 wide receiver or a top 2 wide receiver or the wide receiver 1 is because of T. Higgins, right? You know, we've always said Chase is not the system. There can be games where T. Higgins is is the 1B to Chase's 1A, right? They can go both ways, and I'm not ready to give that up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I drafted him in every team because, you know, you get him so late, the value is going to be there. He had an injury season last year, but we are going to be still, I think throughout his career, we're going to be tippy-toeing on like, you know, I'm going to get this guy. There's always going to be a chance where he's going to be injured. There's always going to be a chance where he misses games. He's missed games every year, but the upside's always there.
The upside is there, and he's a player that he's a fun player to watch when he's like performing well. Outside of that, it's tough. It's tough sometimes to be a T. Higgins owner.
You taking T. Higgins? You're taking Godwin over T. Higgins, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so you're taking him over Marvin Harrison?
No, I got Marvin over T still.
Okay, so
T. Higgins is closer to like I'm looking like George Pickens or T. Higgins, or like Michael Pittman and T. Higgins. Like I think
Michael Pittman's
the same thing. He's a proven player, big body receiver. It just hasn't performed up to expectations so far.
Nah, they're two different receivers. They may look the same, but Michael Pittman's never been a big touchdown guy. Let me ask you something. Breece Hall. Let's get to it. Breece Hall and George Pickens for Derrick Henry and and T. Higgins. Who you taking?
Breece Hall and George Pickens.
It's not
close. Yeah. Especially, especially the guy you mentioned, like TDs. When has T. Higgins been a big TD guy? It always looks the part, but when it's same like Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman's always around like 4 or 5 touchdowns, but T. Higgins always around like 5, 6 touchdowns.
Listen, T. Higgins. No, it's not the same thing. T. Higgins missed like damn near half the season. Like he missed like a quarter of the season last year. Had more touchdowns.
Facts are facts.
You know what I'm saying?
So, I'm saying he'd never been a big touchdown. Has he ever had 10 touchdowns?
He had 7. What do you have?
Has he ever had 10 touchdowns, Fee?
Has he ever had? He ain't never had 10 touchdowns, dog. Damn.